R&B the podcast with Russ, with Blake. It's R&B the podcast. We gonna take our time to talk with you on something important to us. We hope that you all really enjoy it. Okay. Welcome back. R&B podcast, episode 41.
41.
Thank God for this opportunity to do another one.
Yep.
Blessed. We got to make a big shout out to Rhythm and Blessings Productions. Appreciate it. This has been great. Elevate Personal Training. You can reach out at elevatetraining247@gmail if you are in need of health coaching services. And as far as our feedback for this podcast and hearing from y'all, getting opinions, and even if you want to inquire about being on the show yourself, you can email rmbpod@gmail.com. That's R, the letter N, B, pod@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from y'all.
Yeah, or if you and one or two of your friends want to do your own podcast and you need someone to record it, you can email that email right there, and we'll be to you, and we can produce that conversation for you and give it to you as a keepsake, or you can put it out on YouTube, whatever you want to do.
Certainly. And who you got to shout out to?
I mean, like you said, Rhythm and Balance does so much, you know what I'm saying? Does so much. But as far as people go, shout out to everybody who gives me great feedback. I always say that. My family, shout out to them. My friends, everybody who pushes me to expand my thoughts and do better in my life and get out my comfort zone. I don't have anyone in particular, but humanity in general has just been fueling me recently.
In general.
Blake.
Yeah. That's the kind of energy I've been on lately. Just so many people that I wouldn't expect to learn from, and it seems like even the people I do expect to learn from, I don't know if I'm just getting better at listening and asking questions, or if everyone's just recently really been coming through. Because for me personally, it's like the ducks have all been aligning and the stars have all been aligning, and we're kind of marching towards these goals at a pace that feels really good. And there have definitely been times in my various journeys that I'm on currently where the progress didn't necessarily meet my expectations or my aspirations. And that's why today I want to talk about patience a little bit, because so many things that we aspire to do or aspire to be or aspire to see don't necessarily come when we want them to.
Yeah.
And I think that is very purposeful in how our universe works.
Yeah.
Because patience can provide us with so much, and we choose to label ourselves in certain ways, or self-doubt may arise at certain times. And I think a lot of times it's directly related to a lack of patience.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's funny because when you first mentioned patience to me, I think of more of an action as far as if somebody's playing a sport or maybe like a martial artist or something. When they show extreme patience, you can tell they've really mastered their craft, because they're not worried about trying to go too quick, and they know that they can wait for the perfect opening and opportunity to take their shot, strike, whatever it might be, right?
Shot, strike, throw. I think every sport requires patience to be great. Yeah, because you're in tennis, you have to wait for the ball to get at the right point to swing, or else it's not going to go where you want it to. Or the same in baseball. And even as a pitcher, you have to be patient of when you're going to release, or else it's going to go up into the stands, right?
Yeah, and it's funny when you talk about baseball, that's patience shown in like milliseconds.
Yeah.
And then there can be the patience of a pump fake in basketball, which could be much longer than the patience of someone about to hit a fastball in baseball.
Yeah, and even patience in my golf swing is something that I've developed in the past few months. And, I think that athletes just have an advantage in that way.
Yeah.
Because even if you're not good at a sport, there is somewhere in your development as an athlete that you have to be patient, whether that's the fitness that you work on in the gym setting or trying to develop a certain skill. We're not good at anything in any sport the first time we try it, unless you're like Giannis Antetokounmpo or somebody like that.
Yeah,
But even then,
even then.
you have to put in so much work, and it takes time.
Mhm.
So there's the micro and the macro in all these situations, right?
Sure, and patience can evoke emotions like frustration,
Oh
right? It
yeah.
can be annoying, it can be frustrating.
Mm,
You can even feel jealousy if you have to be patient and you're seeing someone else who doesn't need to be patient in that moment. There's
yeah.
all types of emotions that can be paired with patience, but it's
Yeah.
something you have to learn to show.
I think comparison diminishes our ability to be patient a lot of times,
Mm-hmm.
most of the time.
For sure.
Because the only reason we're disappointed about the house we live in, the car we drive, or whatever the circumstances regarding our current situation is because we think that somebody else has what we think we want.
Have you had a day recently where you felt like, oh man, today's testing my patience and I'm starting to have less and I can feel it?
Um, well, I guess so. Yes, I was off camera talking to you about how my daughter the past few days been having a fever on and off. She's teething, and so my sleep has not been where I want it to be or where it usually is for my routine. And a couple times that has caused me to wake up a little bit later than I usually do. And the way that I run my life right now, I'm on a very strict routine to where to accomplish all the things that I expect to accomplish in a day, I have to wake up at 4 in the morning. And I like to wake up at 4 in the morning, but if I don't sleep properly, it's not possible. So if I wake up and I'm in a little bit of a rush and I'm sleep deprived on top of that, I feel like my patience is not as strong as it usually is.
Yeah.
So those are the days that it's definitely being tested just because my body's not in the optimal state.
Yeah.
And on that note, that's why I like to tell people once you take care of yourself and your health, a lot of those little caveats of your performance are going to fall into place a lot easier
Mm-hmm.
because you can be patient if you have adequate sleep and your day is organized and you're on time to where you need to be and all of those things, right? But once you lose control of that, then you don't feel like you have time to be patient, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's why I asked you because I was wondering what kind of variables you were gonna say affected that patience. Because for me, it's the same. If I don't eat, I've caught myself hangry, you could
Mm-hmm.
say. But
Mm-hmm.
what I think of as hangry for me is that I'm not as patient as I usually am because I can feel myself being
Right.
like, all right, bro, like I'm about to like just start telling you to hurry up or I'm gonna get mad
Mm-hmm.
or if I underplan my journey, like if I need to go somewhere
Right.
and then I'm in traffic, I'm usually so chill. But if I need to be somewhere in 7 minutes and I'm 11 minutes away and I'm in traffic, it's crazy the type of
Mm-hmm.
personality that I'll jump into because it's like
Mm-hmm.
I'm never that rushed.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll start to swerve. Oh, let me get over quick and just start to be
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah. And then, so we just all have to remember that within
Yeah,
ourselves when we see somebody else behaving that way. Because if you're in a rush and this person's in a rush and you guys are in the same space, that's when accidents happen. That's where things get out of hand, right?
for sure. And also recognizing that no matter how much of the skill of patience you think you still have opportunities to practice it.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah, the hospital has definitely taught me patience
Mm,
because there's always a schedule and it never works out the way that we expect
yeah.
because there are emergencies and unexpected events and patients will have questions or their families have questions or um, there's so many different variables, right?
Hmm.
And we can't control all of them. So you just have to plan for the unexpected and be very flexible in those settings. And so needing to be flexible within a work setting has made it a lot easier for me to be flexible outside of work because I think a lot of people's professions are pretty structured on their day to day activity and expectations.
Yeah.
So for me, spending so much time where there's not that structure of the schedule, but at the same time, we rely so heavily on the schedule because I do my assessments and medications at 8 a.m. and also at 12, also at 4. And I have to do my Q2 hour turns, my oral care for my intubated patients, and mobilization. There's so many tasks to get done in the day that we have to be organized. But then all of a sudden, I'm in a situation where I'm taking care of your 95-year-old grandmother, and I try to ask her 5 questions, and it takes me 15 minutes,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
And so, those situations, I'm very good at showing on the outside that I'm not rushing or not being impatient, but definitely is dancing in my head, like being fidgety and I'm just smiling like,
Mhm.
oh my God, this is really taking this long. And I'm like glancing up at the clock just because there's other people waiting on me to accomplish things, right? And
Yeah.
then it seems like the most insignificant things take the most time sometimes.
Yeah.
And then there's always setbacks. And even today, I was working for my business and I'm trying to make adjustments on the website. And I'm just having the smallest issue with the little detail that was not supposed to take half of the time of completing this. But it just is what it is. It is what it is. And then we have to just understand that there will be more time the next day to continue, God willing, as long as we're truly being as diligent as we could and not being distracted. Because I think we also neglect the fact that a lot of the time that we lose out on in the day is because we're distracted.
Yeah.
And so people say they don't have time for certain things, but it's because you make time for all these other things that don't really matter to your life.
Right. And you shared a cool clip with me, well, a whole video one time where the guy was talking about how when you add more things to do into your day, instead of it making it feel like you have less time, it actually increases your time.
Yeah.
It's like in this expanding principle where you actually find more energy to go complete what you packed into your day
Yeah.
just because you made that expectation for yourself.
Hmm.
But I was wondering for you, Blake, can you think of a time where you felt a qualitative leap in your skills after you demonstrated patience working on something and trying to hone it, and then out of nowhere you were like, whoa, this is that skill I was waiting for some reason I can
Hmm.
do it now.
Yeah. In a lot of ways. I feel like almost every conversation I can relate to fitness, but I always joke that if I had this understanding and awareness of my body
Hmm.
and human physiology and body mechanics, I would be such a great high school athlete
Yeah.
because I didn't understand how to run efficiently, how to properly lift heavy weights, but I was
Right.
still strong. I was still decently fast, but all these technique things kind of clicked in my head one day as I continued to work out and train. And so one could say maybe I wasn't putting in the time that I needed to,
Hmm.
but also we do come to understandings and have those aha moments at different times, right? Where things just do click.
For
So
sure.
I always thought that I worked hard. Probably could have worked harder because I enjoyed myself as a kid too. But definitely at this point in my life, I see like my body awareness. Like I literally have some kind of Spider-Man moment sometimes where I'll catch something that's fallen and usually nobody's around to see it. But but a lot of the most amazing things I've done in my life, there were no witnesses.
I feel you.
And that's one reason I have the confidence that I have because I got to a point where I didn't need somebody to tell me I'm doing a good job because the point in my life where I felt that I needed to, somebody would fall short in recognizing me.
Yeah.
And I don't need that recognition to continue to work hard, right? And
Yeah.
so I have my own evaluation, and then it's nice when I get recognized, and especially when it's my superior or my coworkers, whatever it may be. But end of the day, it's my own analysis that's going to determine my effort
Yeah.
because you can have a great accomplishment. Say I wrote a book and sold 5 million copies, right?
Hmm.
But if I knew I didn't put as much effort into editing the book, or I could have added another chapter, but I figured nobody would know that that piece was missing. I know that that's missing. I know that I could have tried harder. And then the day, you could have probably done twice as much as you did if you put in the full effort, right?
Yeah. But
And
when would you know that you tried your hardest?
um, well, I mean, when you put in the time,
Yeah.
when you put in the time, if you rush the process and you're not patient,
Hmm.
then you didn't give your full effort because you didn't allow the time. Sometimes, for instance, again, exercise. I tell people when you add weight, you have to be patient in moving the weight. It's not going to move as fast as the lighter weight did.
Mm.
And you can tell when somebody tries to rush, for instance, a bench press because their shoulders try to take over. But
Mm.
you have to drive your elbows up and allow that weight to move against gravity, right? And the more and more weight you add, the slower your power is going to be able to act upon that weight.
Right.
But that's a hard concept to understand because all of a sudden we feel like, oh, I can't push this. It's like, no, you can push it. It's just going to take twice as long, right?
Yeah. Because you're doing more weight.
Because you're doing more
You're
weight.
expecting more of yourself, so you gotta be a little bit more patient to accomplish the task.
Right. So in life, like you said, you add more things to your plate and your day is more loaded,
Mhm.
right? And so you have more tasks, and it might feel like, oh my goodness, these things, like I need to rush through this so I can get to that. But no, you take your time with this task, take it one step at a time.
Yeah.
And now you have this heavy
Man,
weight that you're pushing, but it's going to take a little longer to get it to where it needs to
man,
be, right?
that's facts. That is facts. You know, it's funny because I had a conversation earlier today. One of my coworkers was like, "What are you about to do after work?" And I was like, "All right, well, I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna meditate for 20 minutes, and I'm gonna go to the gym. And then when I get home from the gym, me and Blake are gonna record a podcast, and then I'm probably gonna edit that podcast and go to sleep and come back here." She's just like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, like that's gonna be my day to day, but I'm looking forward to every moment
Yeah.
of that. Like when I was in the gym, I was just doing my, gym workout, and then
Yeah.
came here, got right to this, and we're just trying to stay in the moment and enjoy what we're doing. And it makes
Mhm.
your day so much fun. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Because you're adding purpose. So it's interesting because patience is like something you need to choose to show to grow more purpose, right?
Yes. Yep, certainly. And that's the problem too. I think a lot of people feel so lost because they don't know their purpose or what they should be doing or really what they're good at. I think everybody wants to do what they're good at. Some people are like, I don't really think I'm good at anything. It's like,
Yeah.
well, you got to just try some more things. You haven't really tried anything yet, right? We all have so many different avenues we can explore, but sometimes you have to be patient in what you're trying to do to determine whether or not you're actually good at it. Because a lot of times you're not good at it because you haven't done it for long enough.
Mm,
So that patience is different levels of the journey too, right? You have to be patient in having an opportunity. You have to be patient in exploring an opportunity, and you have to be patient in achieving the outcome. But a lot of us want to initiate something and already know what the outcome is going to be. And we try to guess what the outcome is going to be and anticipate.
sure.
We talk about anticipation leading to anxiety, and we get anxious, like, oh man, what if I'm wasting my time? Like,
Yeah.
what if I never get good at this or have anything to talk about afterwards,
You're
right?
thinking too much, right?
Yeah.
You're thinking way too much. I heard Dame
Hmm.
Dash talk about this on an interview. He's like, if you have time to sit around and worry about what you're gonna do, you got too much time on your hands. Like, go do something. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because you're sitting there thinking about how it could go wrong when you could just be out doing something.
Yeah. And again, fitness. I tell people first thing in the morning, work out. Or at least when you think about working out, if you're not doing anything else, go ahead and work out.
Mm,
Who cares if you don't have an hour to do it? But you think about it now, the more you think about it, the less you're going to want to do it. And then
yeah.
the longer you think about it, the more other things are going to come into your day and you're going to have excuses or actually run out of time. But like you said, sitting around thinking about it, that's wasting time.
Hmm.
And if it's not something that needs planning or preparation, just go ahead and get started with it.
Yeah.
I think we overcomplicate so many things, and um, our health maintenance is one of those things because the average person knows what healthy foods look like.
Mm,
The average person knows how to do a basic exercise,
yeah.
but even
But
something that,
but we might not know what it feels like to have like a healthy mind because that can
mm,
be very subjective, and maybe we don't
that's
know.
important. Yeah, I think, yeah. I mean, if you've never been in a environment where somebody was displaying a healthy mindset
Hmm.
and you've never yourself experienced a healthy headspace, then yeah, that will impede upon your abilities to succeed in
Yeah,
those
because like
other
with the
things.
body, it's like we can look at each other and see if your body looks healthy.
Hmm.
But with the mind, it's like it can go shown.
Yeah, I think there's a reason that the little triad is said as mind, body, and spirit because it's
Mm.
kind of hard to properly prioritize your body and spirit without first starting with your mind.
And I think it's easier to see how someone's spirit is than it is to see how their mind is, in my opinion.
Well, right, and it's easier to see how someone's body is than their mind
Hmm.
too, right?
Right. Yeah. But the mind is like, man, because someone could be doing all, showing you different ways or be successful at computing things and processing things, but really have
Hmm.
a hard time just falling asleep. And you would have no idea kind
Hmm.
of where they're at mentally.
Well, even so, I mean, we talked about depression, and some people have a good spirit, like they're a good person,
Hmm.
and they could even be taking care of themselves physically, but their mind might not be where it needs to be, right?
Yeah.
And so many factors go into that. I tell people that are having like those really depressive thoughts and self doubts, because I feel like we've all been there, like to
Hmm.
different extents, right?
For
It's a
sure.
spectrum, but I've definitely had a period in my life where I didn't think I was worthy of my situation, or I didn't think I was going to ever reach my potential. Like there's something holding me back, and I was not making the right moves or decisions, right? And we just have to one, make decisions, and two, be confident in those decisions we make and make the most of those situations, right? And once I started realizing that all of these very minuscule seeming opportunities and situations could be grand if I made them that way,
Hmm.
depending on how I took advantage of them, then that really changed my perspective of the things that are happening in my life. And I almost said happening to me, but I heard someone say, like, don't think that life is happening to you. Like, think that you are happening to life.
Yeah.
Like I am making these decisions and taking action. So it's me being the initiator. It's not things, I mean, there's things going on around me too, but when it comes to my life and my mental and my health and my spirit, my situation, it's all me doing.
Sure, you got to take accountability for your creativity because you're
Yeah.
creating it what it is that you want. I heard KRS-One today in a clip say that life isn't true, the story you tell about it is true.
Ooh,
And he was like, what story are you telling about yourself? You know, he was like, some people tell a terrible story and expect great things to happen.
so many. Yeah. I know a lot of people that I consider successful that think so lowly of themselves. And I'm
Mm,
like, you've done X, Y, and Z. I'm trying to do W, and you're like way past that, you know? And
yeah.
here you are, like, talking badly about yourself or not having the self confidence, labeling yourself as lazy,
Mm,
labeling yourself as whatever negative term that I'm like, that's not the you that I see. So, me and Maddie talk about all the time, like seeing yourself in the positive light that other people see you in
yeah,
can be
it's
very
hard.
beneficial.
And
It's hard.
sometimes you do need to be your biggest critic, but you got to like be your biggest fan too. And if
I'm
you
definitely both.
yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So if you don't have that dichotomy and you're only your biggest critic, then you're not
Mhm.
doing yourself any favors.
Mhm.
And how do you go about trying to get that self confidence if other people see the greatness in you and you know you're great, but for some reason you can't like recognize and
Well, I was also talking to Maddie about how it's hard for me to really think about navigating that process without God in the picture. And I
mm,
realize not everybody believes in God or wants to refer to that overall energy source as God, whatever perspective you have of it, right? But for me, that was the opportunity to take control because I see
man,
myself being made in God's image. And my goal is WWJD at the end of the day. What would Jesus do? So acting with love, being confident in myself and my purpose, and just taking on every day as a blessing. It's hard to go wrong in that fashion to me. And so that's something that I really discovered in the late college years. I think being in a committed monogamous relationship helped me get to that point.
mm.
And that's something that a lot of people aren't interested in either.
Man, I'm really glad that you brought up the aspect of God when talking about your development, you know, because it is very true. It's hard to set yourself in the image of any other person or have even a role model or an idol that you shoot towards, even if it's a great person. It's
Hmm.
still hard to have that be the highest limit. You know, if I
Hmm.
wanted to be a great basketball player, it's awesome to idolize LeBron James. He does so many things well. He passes, high IQ, sets good screens, he can score, right? He's the top scorer of all time. It's great to have that as my goal, but as a human being, I can't have that be my highest goal, right?
Hmm.
It needs to be more set on the divine, expanding God, something that of that nature.
Hmm.
It's interesting. I was having this conversation with a student today because he told me he was like, it makes sense how people become great because they set up an idol. And I was like, what do you mean by idol? And he said, well, I just said, well, they find somebody who's great at what they do and then they just mimic what they're doing. And I'm like, yeah, that is true. People definitely have that. But then I thought it was so interesting he used the word idol because I was like,
Yeah.
I have to
Yeah.
ask him. I'm like, bro, because this is a smart kid. So I'm like, what do you, in the Bible and in these different religious texts, like, what is it that God usually is upset about? And he knew he was like people worshiping
Yeah. False
idols,
prophet.
false prophets, idols, these things of this nature. And it's like, that's why we have to be careful of having the difference between what we want our goals to look like in the physical world be like what it is that we think is the highest potential for a human being because it transcends all the people that you think are just great at what they do or their craft,
Hmm.
and it gets much deeper.
Hmm. Yeah. And everyone that I've ever looked up to, I think that I've always looked above where they were, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've never
And Kobe said, "Shout out to God for everything." You know, so a
right.
lot of these great people also do know that
Well,
God
right.
is their highest point.
All of the ones that I can think of off the
Right.
top, even the ones that don't necessarily operate like they believe in God, they still shout him out,
Right.
right? And that's definitely a foundation in their mindset, because I think a lot of people expect God to take the wheel and do everything for us, but I think that the majority of the success and opportunity that we can get from being God loving people is the fact that we recognize God. I heard somebody say that it's silly for us to think that we chose God. So many people say, I found God. It's like, no, God found you. You decided to open your eyes up and pay attention.
Realness.
Right. So
Real.
and we're all born with God in us, whether we like it or not, y'all. And there is the potential, and no one person has more than the next. But that same person did also say that he doesn't think that God is fair. And I kind of reckon with that, because I talk about fairness not really being a concept that I believe in. And I do believe in God, so that makes sense to me, just because we do all get faced with different situations, different trials and tribulations, and we're not always equipped to deal with certain things as well as the next person. And that person might not even have to deal with that thing, right?
Or that's just your thing to help you know that you're equipped,
And
right?
that's what it is.
Yeah,
but there's certainly, I don't think many people skate through life easily, but somebody is. Somebody is getting handouts.
And that's not easy.
And it's
right.
Probably,
it's the guy who never have.
Right.
It's like everyone has to go lift, but you don't have to go lift.
So yeah, they're gonna struggle at some point. But it's like I either have to go find all these tools that I'm gonna use to build this house, or somebody's delivering me the tools, right? So they might not necessarily utilize them. I think that that's the problem that a lot of people get into when things are quote unquote easier for them. They don't always put in the same effort. So then it takes a little bit of time, but then the other people who were less equipped at one point end up catching up to you because they're trying a lot harder.
For sure.
Right.
Yeah. What is the saying? Hard work beats talent when talent fails to work hard. Right.
Exactly. And that's why, so many people that don't have the things that they think they want, or aren't as talented as they wish they were, like to say that, they're just born gifted, or they're just so blessed, they're lucky, right? I was like, no, that person works really hard. They might have got lucky at some point. They might get lucky often, but like this overall picture you're seeing, that's hard work. That's the grind.
And they might know just where to put themselves to get lucky, which takes talent and takes intelligence.
Yeah, you got to make opportunities and go find those doors to open.
Yeah.
Right? Because you can be knocking at the door, but if you don't grab the door handle, it might never open up for you. And then that brings me to, we kind of touched on that analogy off camera of finding yourself on the other side of a brick wall, right? And originally in my mind, I'm like, oh yeah, you got to fight that wall. You got to break that thing down. But it's like, if you're not patient in getting through the wall, you're gonna be bloodied up and hurting.
Sure, you got to Jenga that wall.
You got to Jenga the wall.
All right, where's the strategic points to get me through this?
Is this brick loose? Nah, I gotta take this brick over here.
The path of least resistance.
The path of least resistance, and then you start seeing through, and then you can see some holes, and you're like, okay, that's kind of what it looks like, and you get an idea of who you need to be to get to where you want to be.
Man, that's real.
And I think a lot of us think so much about where we want to be, and we don't realize we're not even that person yet. So you're not meant to be there.
Yeah.
But when you become who you need to be, then you'll probably end up where you want to be. Right? And that there takes the ultimate patience. And I am very happy with where I am currently, but it excites me to know that I'm not even close to where I'm going to be or who I'm going to be. Because I'm so different than I was 5 years ago, or even probably 2 years ago, right? I feel like I've changed a lot, obviously, since becoming a dad. That's been 1 year, but even just the year leading up to that. And that was the thing, too. Full disclosure, I had a kid a little bit earlier than I had planned, but I'm married, so it's whatever. Like, if it happens, it happens, right? But I know for a fact that I became a dad right when I should. Like, God made that happen.
Yeah,
right?
I know that too, for sure.
Yeah, because I was on a trajectory of growth where I knew something was going to happen. I for sure didn't think it was going to be my wife getting pregnant,
Mm-hmm.
but the the following events, it just all makes sense in hindsight, right?
Yeah.
And that's why we have to understand that God's plan is the ultimate one, and even if it doesn't feel right at the moment, it will eventually. It all comes together.
You can't outrun it, bro.
Yeah,
It's like
no.
you really are under this law that's like divine and guiding you, and then you can
Hmm.
get upset about the ways that it's going, or you can just sit there and absorb it,
Hmm.
and really just live it out. And it's beautiful. I'm glad you said that because it just makes me feel gratitude, like overwhelming sense of gratitude, because
Hmm.
it really is that. It feels that way. And
Yeah.
there's been so many times where I've been upset about the way that my story is unfolding. And then it takes me so quick to realize, like, wow, thanks for taking control of that situation. Because if it happened how I wanted it,
Yeah.
it would have been terrible.
Right. And a lot of the things that we end up missing out on, somebody that is in that situation, and
Mm
you're like, oh, that don't even sound as great as I expected it to be,
hmm.
right? And you're like, wow, I kind of, where I am now, eh, I think that this is meant for me. Like that, this is more enjoyable than what he makes that sound like,
Yeah.
right? And so we all just have this usually unrealistic expectation of our destination, and then you're gonna end up somewhere. And if you really look at where you are, you're probably right where you should be.
Yeah.
I mean, you just have to enjoy it for what it is. I was telling Russ, my dad used to always tell me, don't try to skip stages in life. Like, don't grow up too fast. And I'd always be like, what? Are you trying to, like, I'm already grown,
Yeah.
Like, think I got hair on my chest. And then when it comes down to it, you wake up one day, you got a wife and a kid, and multiple jobs, whole lot of bills, a lot more responsibility, and you finally understand what that means to just slow down and enjoy those stages. And
Mm.
now, especially that I see my daughter growing up so fast, I'm like, oh yeah, these are important. Because my dad wasn't only telling me that for me, but he was telling me that for him. He's like, I want to see you enjoy these stages. Like,
Mm.
I don't want to see you grow up too fast because I can't go back and watch you do these things again.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to be grown and you want to get a job before you need a job, and you will want these responsibilities that aren't nice to have,
Right.
like you
You
think it's
rushing.
nice, but yeah, there's just so many things that you don't really fully learn and understand until you get there.
Yeah.
And that's why we have to listen to our elders and our mentors and our coaches and the people that do have the experience, because another thing my dad would always talk about is the wisdom that he had. And I would get upset because I thought him talking about his wisdom was saying that I didn't have any. And really, as a kid, you don't. You don't. You haven't
You have your
experienced
father's
anything. You
wisdom.
got your father's wisdom,
You know.
but you have to be teachable and coachable and open to what they have to say, and just understand that regardless of how it's presented, that it should be out of love if they're trying to teach you a lesson.
Yeah,
You
but
know,
we can be hard headed at an early age and stubborn, and it's just so easy to be stubborn.
titanium headed.
Yeah,
Like,
for real. Titanium headed. For real, man. And then it's like, thank God for the patience of getting me through being titanium headed, because that wasn't my
mhm.
choice to be patient. I had to be patient.
Yeah.
I had no other choice because I just kept going. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Until I realized like I was demonstrating patience.
Hmm.
Dom Kennedy on one of his songs, Still Calling, I'm pretty sure. He says that he says that he's been awarded the gift of patience because he showed patience. So now what's on the other side of it is a gift awarded to him, which
Yeah.
I just always thought was like, he says it in a cooler way. I forgot exactly how he says it, but
Yeah. I think most big musicians and artists can easily voice that perspective, just because that's what it takes to get to that point,
yeah,
right? And they're all either selling mixtapes out of the trunk or knocking on doors begging people to listen to their song, and like they literally start at the bottom. Like nobody makes their first song and has Jay-Z calling their phone,
mm-hmm,
right? So
yeah,
I think that the artist and musician route is definitely one that, like, if you're not planning on being patient, you're not planning on taking the time to perfect your craft and allow people to experience your music at their own pace, and um, really put in that work to get the exposure. If that's what you're searching for, then you're never gonna get it the way that you expect.
yeah,
But you have to envision what that's going to be.
yeah,
I think Kanye West is a good example of that, because just before he had done anything, he already knew what he was going to do.
yeah,
You look at his documentary, he was almost predicting, like somebody could say he was telling the future with the trajectory that he then took and where he ended up. You
Yeah.
know, and I'm just talking about his accomplishments. I'm not talking about his
Yeah, his musical.
anything. Yeah, we're just talking about the music
Yeah.
here.
And he had so much confidence that he knew that he was still going to have that confidence when he got to where he was going to go. Wallow 267 is another person I bring up so much on this podcast, but he always talks about how when he was in prison, just from the confidence he had, he knew that when he got out here, he was going to be successful because
Yeah.
he had developed the ability to like not always ruminate about what people thought about him, to try
Yes.
hard, and he was willing to be a fool at stuff. He was willing to be patient and keep working until he mastered it. He
Mhm.
knew just having those fundamental beliefs that right when he got out here, he was going to be good.
Yeah. And he's one that I'm glad you always bring up because
Yeah.
when I first saw him, I was one to be like, oh, what is he on? Like,
Mhm.
it was hard for me to receive his message, you know, but if you just look at the story he's telling
Yeah.
and listen to the words he's saying rather than the presentation, then it is very inspirational. And his presentation is inspirational to a lot of people too. It's just we all have our own preferences and our own niche, and that's why you shouldn't rely on someone else's response to what you make
Yeah.
to propel you to make more.
For sure, your own authentic energy can be enough
Exactly.
to
Somebody's going to receive it.
somebody just because you're being authentic. It doesn't even you
Mm,
could think you're goofy or weird, but the fact you're being authentic, we're gonna feel that, or someone's gonna feel that, and it's gonna
yeah.
inspire them to be their authentic self, and then that could be a whole different realm of what they do,
Mm.
but it's inspiring.
And that was such an easier mindset to have before social media because
Mm.
even now it's like you can post something that has 10,000 views and you're like, oh yeah, that was dope. And then you post something that you think was dope and it has like 100. And you're like, oh, what did I do wrong? Like, what was wrong with this? And you start thinking about it too much. But
Yeah.
the way these algorithms are set up, that's not what's happening, folks.
And I'm not trying to hate, but I'll see videos that are just marketed the right way and they'll have a whole bunch of views
Well,
and it'll be
yeah.
something that's I
Like I
think
said,
is
the
very
algorithm,
like very like, subpar and
there's
it's
a lot
just
of it.
run of the mill cliche.
Hmm.
And I'm just sitting there thinking, okay, this has a lot of views because it's marketed the right way.
I mean, it's already at the point where, like, on my personal page, I know it's gonna get more likes and views, but it's not the stuff that I want to post.
Yeah.
And I, at this point, just post what I want to post
Yeah.
because that's what that space is for me. That's my digital real estate, right?
Mhm.
But it's like if I want to get famous and get a whole lot of followers, like. I've seen a lot of explanations of the algorithm. I've seen which of my content gets the most traction.
Bro.
A lot of it's my nursing related stuff.
Yeah, if you just did like nursing and squats and deadlifts, like then you probably go crazy out here on the especially if you combine the two.
I even had someone tell me, he's like, yeah, if you had like less family pictures, like you'd probably, I was like, bro,
less Milo, more bench press.
right. I was like, well, that's kind of non-negotiable, so I guess I'm never gonna be famous. That's all right. But I've just seen plenty of people do things their own way, and there's always a different perspective. There's always going to be some kind of advice that somebody's trying to give you, but if you stay true to you and do your thing, then there's not really a wrong path that you're going to take. Just operate out of love every time, I think, is going to take you in the right direction.
Yeah, and real ones will feel you. You know what I mean? So that's really
Real
what
recognize
matters.
real.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, I've had people that have followed me for a long time, been very interactive, and like the comments of those few people mean so much more than thousands of other people who just kind of care,
Mhm.
right? And I've had so much support in everything that I've done for as long as I can remember, and that's something that I definitely don't take for granted. And it really just motivates me to continue to do what I do. You know,
Mhm.
I used to be confused by some people's reactions to what I do because I would just be like, oh, I did it for me. Like, I'm glad you liked it, but
True.
I didn't really expect certain people to react. And then I went through a point where I expected people to react a certain way. And then you get faced with disappointment, right?
Yeah.
But if you just operate for you, but then also show gratitude when people express their appreciation, then I think that that puts you in a really healthy space as far as creating anything, whether it's a podcast or IG content or
Yeah.
music, being a creator, you just have to, like we said before, really have pride in your craft and just know that what you create is basically an offering to God.
Yeah, and being super patient. I want to bring up something kind of random that I just thought about happened to me today. Like, I was talking to this kid, right,
Mm.
and a student out of school I work at, and he was asking me about 300 Spartan, if I ever saw the movie 300, and I'm like, yeah, I've seen 300, like King Leonidas. I love 300, and I asked him, I'm like, could you imagine being part of an army that only had 300 people and you guys had to go fight like the Persians who have 10,000? And he said that he would rather be in a group of 299 other people that were born and destined to be a soldier than be in a group with 9,000 like pottery and farmers and people that weren't even like, destined from birth to be this.
Mm.
And I was like, that's kind of hard. You know what I mean? I never really thought about like it is more potent. You know what I'm saying? He was trying to say the quality of the soldier is always going to matter more than the quantity of the
Quality over
soldier.
quantity.
And I
Yeah.
just because 300 is so weird because it's 300 people and we're always like they're outnumbered, but these dudes are destined. They're little learning the fighting techniques and they know they're going to be soldiers. And King Leonidas spits nothing but motivational bars to him.
Yeah. I think it also shows you what can be accomplished with good leadership,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
Because that is a strong key in that. Like, yeah, the other guys were prepared, but King Leonidas is the one who guided them to those victories
Yeah.
and kept their head on straight, kept them organized, kept them motivated, like you said. And there's a lot of soldiers out here in this world that don't have adequate leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is where a lot of people fall short. And that's why sometimes you have to take it upon yourself to find that mentor, find that coach, find that guidance, that assistance, and be humble enough to ask for the assistance, even if it's not like readily available to you, right?
Right. You mean like a metaphoric soldier?
Yeah, not real soldiers
Yeah.
ready to
I get
go
what
to
you're saying.
war, but yeah, I
Mhm.
mean, like I'm a soldier of God, and
Right.
I
Right.
think everybody is out here fighting their own battle in life,
Yeah.
right? So
And your leaders need to be as strategic and intelligent as someone like a King Leonidas, like someone that you could really trust and knows has your ultimate goal in mind.
yeah, has a equivalent expertise of, you know, his fighting compared to someone's drawing capabilities or
Mm-hmm.
their ability to sell a product, right?
Mastery.
Yeah, mastery. So whoever you're looking for, I mean, my thing is you just need to be in a position where you're asking somebody with more experience for guidance.
Yeah, I didn't mean to get us super off track. I didn't know if that fit into this conversation, but it was interesting to me.
Well, I mean, along with patience, if
Mm,
I think that almost everyone has the ability to become that leader,
yeah,
and that's not a perspective that I used to have.
really.
But some of us,
You thought some people were natural born followers.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, but those people just have a steeper learning curve in how to develop themselves into being a leader.
Mm.
You know, how to talk, how to walk, how to operate. When to respond, how to respond to people.
Well, it's interesting because as I get older and the professional athletes that we watch become younger than me, I start to realize that some dudes just don't have that like they don't have that ability to be like I don't care about what anyone thinks. Now,
They don't have the leader to let them know that that's how they need to operate.
that's real because that's probably what it is. It's the lack of a mentor
Yeah.
for the young dude. That's very true.
And it's hard to mentor a 20-year-old that has more money than you,
Yeah.
right? Some of these guys have such a big head because technically they've accomplished much more than a lot of other people have ever dreamt of, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, how are you going to tell him that, like, yo, you need to chill out because you can be so much more if you would just cut this out of your life, right?
Honestly, I think that's where we could see kind of the lack of not having Kobe in the world in our current
Hmm.
sports because some of our young dudes that get into drama and it shows in their game
Yeah.
and their mind is in their play and it's obvious. It's like,
Hmm.
a Kobe would have told you, off the court, on the court, you need to be dialed in and things are going to happen, but there's no way that if you're going to be great and legendary that it can show there.
Yeah, I think the social media culture for sports has been very toxic.
I wonder what it would be like if social media was around and like 300 Spartan, you know what I mean? Like the leaders like comparing their wins, and then like
Man,
soldiers acting like they're higher ranks than they
I
really
tell you,
are.
300 would have
Fronting,
a whole lot of followers after that
right?
fight.
Yeah, yeah. Like they lit now. Like they get verified.
Yeah, that's dumb.
But it would make all of history like hilarious. Honestly, if you imagine a lot of different historic events, like the Boston Tea Party, and
Yeah,
like
if they were tweeting about it beforehand, like, yeah, we about to get him tonight.
yeah, for real. Like honestly, so many people would have funded their move like of historic events
Yeah.
if there was
Mhm.
Twitter.
Yeah, because sharing too much information can often be bad.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. And our human ego always wants to kind of be like, hey, I'm the man. I got this information. Or look at where I'm at. Click picture. Like, and
Yeah.
then somebody knows, it'll tip someone off. A lot
Yeah.
of soldiers, right? I mean, not literal soldiers. A lot of people who commit crimes are getting found out just because of their social media posts.
Posting on Facebook afterward, look
Yeah.
what I hit a lick. Yeah, I was like, why would you do that?
It's the human ego, man. Like they
Mhm.
have to. That's like something that they want to be recognized for because they just want to be recognized.
Right.
It doesn't even really matter what it's for. They're just missing the recognition.
And that's the thing too. A lot of people that do make decisions like that are very talented and intelligent. They just use it for the wrong things,
Yeah.
right? And again, it goes back to leadership, mentorship, having someone to help them hone that energy into something positive and let them realize what it can amount to. But the lack of patience with that level of skill will lead you to trying to make quick money and take advantage of people and not operate in a righteous way.
Who do you think is the most patient football player of all time?
Oh, me and my dad were talking about how the running backs have changed so much of how patient they are to hit the hole. Because it's like they'll take a handoff and it's like almost like they're walking for half a second. And I'm like, ooh, it almost makes you anxious, but then all of a sudden that hole opens up and boom, they hit it. But I feel like when we were in high school was kind of the era of that style of running because I know growing up, coaches are hit the hole, grab the ball, hit the hole. And then so I would always hit the hole hard, but I became like a third down back, But the guys that had the patience for the play to develop ended up breaking off for the bigger runs and stuff, right?
Yeah.
So again, every sport, patience is so valuable. Even when it comes to making the correct pass. I was watching Tua. They were showing a little graphic of his throwing pattern and how he would kind of drop the pass into his zone. And he has to be patient enough to know that that player is going to be where he's throwing the ball to, rather than me thinking I need to throw a beeline pass to where he is right now. He can kind of just set it into the spot that they will be. But that did come back to bite him because he threw an interception in the end zone towards the end of the game.
Yeah.
But overall, that patience goes hand in hand with confidence and awareness. So as you develop all of those personal skills, I think that patience is more so just a byproduct of you understanding the situation better.
For sure. And I'll answer for basketball. I think Luka Doncic is the one that's demonstrating supreme patience on the basketball
Oh,
court.
Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts,
He's a
yeah,
good
for
one.
football.
And a lot of it comes with the demeanor too.
Yeah.
Right? They look patient.
For sure.
Right? They're never frantic.
No.
Like they don't make hasty decisions.
Mm.
Jalen Hurts sometimes look like he's half asleep, but he's just zoned in. Like he always has the same expression, the same demeanor. And that's always been something that has gained the most respect from me. Those people that you can just feel their presence and you know that there's a stressful situation going on and they have the competence and the confidence to continue to perform the way that they were before this situation began.
Yeah. I think for basketball, another young guy, Brandon Ingram, is like that. He's one of
Oh,
those
yeah.
when people watch him play, it's like, man, it's like he's asleep.
Like he's not interested, but he's still dropping 25 points. Like
he just has like a mode. He has this mode that he enters and he goes to work, It's crazy.
Yeah. And it's funny because they look the same when things are going bad and when they're going good.
Yeah, and I always appreciate that in anybody.
That's strong. Yeah. So obviously, not everybody has patience, right? We label ourselves.
Sure. Sometimes I don't have patience. Right. Sometimes I lack patience.
That's what I was going to say.
I know this.
We label ourselves. The average person wouldn't label themselves as patient, I don't believe. I've had people tell me that seem very patient. And it's funny because a lot of times the people that say that to me are not the people that I've been the most patient with because I feel it inside of me. But
And that's probably because they're used to having people fly off the hinges at them.
Right. Because
You
they know
know?
they're in the wrong, and they
Yeah.
expected me to
Like,
be
dang, you
more
haven't even got
upset.
mad yet. Like, usually people are already cussing me out. Like,
Yeah, exactly. So in that sense, I am very patient because it takes a lot to me to get me like out of my zone, like
hmm
a level of explosion. I haven't had many times in my life where I've like exploded at somebody.
yeah.
Um, I've made like snappy comments or something, like been annoyed, but like to see me enraged, like I hate yelling. I'm not a big yeller. I'll sing real loud, holler at somebody across the room, but like yelling out of anger is something that I've never found to be necessary. And because I've never seen anybody else get the response that they want after
By
yelling at
yelling.
somebody. Yeah, that's just not how it works.
Nah.
So I like to learn in that
Unless the
sense.
other person is like lacking all types of backbone and they're down to be disrespected. That's the only way someone's going to have that maladaptive behavior of yelling work for them.
Yeah, right. Which we are not ever going to promote here.
Nah.
But how do you think that somebody should go about developing this patience that's going to help them in their success?
Well, one, I think is the tool we all talk about, meditation. I'm pretty sure science shows 12 to 15 minutes of meditation a day will help you develop concentration, meditate, or patience and focus.
And the awareness.
And the awareness, all
Yeah.
that, all those, that type of things that you're looking to develop in a skill set can come from meditation. I believe that reading literature can help because you have to be very patient to finish a book that's long, and you have to sit there and do it. You know, so that I think
That's a good
develops
one.
patience.
Yeah.
As far as as far as sports go, when I would develop patience with my dribbling, which looked like a change of speed, it would be trying to push myself to go as fast as I can until I lost the ball in every drill. And then once I started losing the ball frequently enough, then I would keep it enough, and then I could learn to change speeds, which that might be a weird like example I'm
Well,
trying to
you
give.
found like a threshold of
Yes.
your ability, so you
Right.
keep working up
And
until
then I roomed it up to that threshold as frequent as I could until I was able to control it,
Right.
and then I slowed it down. You know what I'm saying? It's not like I learned slow first. I had to learn fast first, and then I was able to change speeds. So that's one thing just for
Oh, I
basketball
see.
that I think is
Yeah.
interesting, and I can apply to other things.
Yeah, that is interesting
Yeah.
because a lot of times in basketball, the moves that you make come with patience. You're waiting to put the defender in a certain situation and see how they react, and
Yeah.
being able to change the pace of your dribbling is going to benefit you in
For
that way,
sure.
right?
You watch Paul George, it's like the only reason he's so hard to guard is because he can go super quick, but he
Mm-hmm.
chooses to go slow, like
Mm-hmm.
often. And since he breaks it up and you don't know when it's gonna happen, it looks like he just blows by people.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Nice. And then also, I feel like setting goals can teach someone patience
Mm.
as long as they're realistic, attainable goals, and you have a certain time frame in mind, right?
Yeah.
And then as soon as you accomplish one of those goals, you're like, oh shoot, I could do this.
Yeah.
Where's the next goal at, right? But I think that people that don't really have any goals, but they still have an idea of what they want in life or where they want to be or the things that they want to obtain with no like true process or goal setting along the way, that's where that impatience comes in. And you think that I'm supposed to have everything right now because I want it now.
Yeah.
When really it's like, okay, you want it now, but you got to do all these other things and that's going to take a while.
hmm
Yeah. And
And
then also, what were you going to
no,
say?
no, go ahead.
No, I was just
Okay,
gonna. I was
because
gonna
I
move
was
to the
gonna
next
say
point.
there's like a distinction between mile markers and goals and small things. So I'll try to give this example. J. Cole says in a lyric, which I feel like I've given a lot of lyrics on this episode,
Yeah.
but J. Cole says in a lyric, celebrating all your first downs like their touchdowns
Yeah.
bring a price. Right. So to be able to make the discernment between like what is a small accomplishment and then what's like a touchdown, what's something that you should celebrate.
Right. And I come from a sports background. I know some of my old teammates listening to this. We weren't allowed to celebrate until we won a game. And
I'm
it's like,
weak.
you celebrating for a touchdown. He's like, what are you celebrating
Yeah.
about?
You're a loser.
It's the second quarter. Like, it's like, okay, yeah, but dang, come on, bro.
That's like a loser. He basically is saying like you're a loser. You can't celebrate until you've won.
Right.
And it's like, but I just did what we need to do to win. Like I'm geeked.
And I get the thought process behind it. It's like it ain't over till it's over, right? But you still have to maintain a certain level of spirit throughout the game. And
every football team celebrates. It looks like to me, yeah.
Now they do.
Right.
But back in the day where we had to wear the plain white socks up to the knee. I sound like an old head.
For you just scored a touchdown and walked off the field, like.
And I mean, that's how I really operate anyway. Like, if somebody come jump, like, yeah, we're gonna jump, hit shoulders, but like, I would be in that mode. Like, I wasn't one to wear all the wristbands and the visors and I never looked once in the stands during a football game. Sheesh. I didn't even realize that until a few months ago. I haven't played football in almost 10 years.
That's
and
hilarious.
I was like, I saw a picture recently of the stands, and I was like, dang, there'd be a lot of people at our games.
Yeah,
I was like, I didn't even realize there was that many people there, because I would literally get to the game. We're doing our warm-up on the field. We go back in the locker room. I come out, bust through whatever little banner. I start playing football. Like, I wasn't looking for my parents or seeing if my friends were here, my girlfriend. Like, I was there to win a game.
I feel you.
And it was so hard for me to cultivate that mindset within my teammates that it was really frustrating to me. And now I'm at a point in my life where I realize I've always been like a little ahead in certain mindsets, right?
Yeah, I don't know though, because like I'm not so quick to say it, because sometimes I think that like looking up in the stands can be like beneficial.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So you're okay. I thought you meant you're ahead, like you knew what to do by not looking up in the stands.
Well, I mean, so on the opposition of that, I was locked in.
I feel you. Because I'm just imagining from my perspective, because I'm like the opposite of you. Like I come out and like find like, all right, where's my mom? Where's my grandma?
So,
like,
but
like,
basketball's a little different.
Yeah,
it's a little different because it's more up close. Like your game is more up close and personal.
Yeah, that's true.
There's no separation of the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, the spectators are right there.
They're right there on the sideline. Whereas like I go through a line of players and then cheerleaders and the whole track and then way up in the stands. Facts. And I would hear cheering over there, but I really never acknowledged like
that was me.
Where I'm already knowing.
Yeah, let's go, Blake.
But like, yeah, you in the basketball ring, you're surrounded by people. They're like right there, and even like you hit a shot and just turn around, you might accidentally make eye contact with somebody, right?
Or on purpose.
But it wasn't even right on purpose. Yeah. But it wasn't even intentional that I wasn't paying attention to the crowd. But like they just happened to be there, in my opinion. And I was always appreciative afterwards. I was like, oh yeah, you see that? And like, yeah. I'm like, well, I didn't even realize you were here until now. Yeah. And there's no disrespect to you, but I was here to finish a job.
Yeah.
You know?
That's so interesting, man. Because I remember being younger and I'd have a basketball game and it's like, I remember like my cousin would come, but he'd get there in like the second quarter. So I'd be hooping. I'd see like right when he walked in the gym, I'd be like, all right, he's here. Like,
always time.
Yeah, for real. Like I would always know exactly who was there watching me. I know where they were sitting.
That is interesting.
And I don't know if that was a good thing or not, but I just always have been like that. Like I've always like, all right, they're here now.
See, my parents would be like, oh yeah, Pastor Brownie might come to the game tonight. And I'm like, oh, cool. And then I feel like when I played JV, there was a couple times I noticed because there's less people in the crowd, right? But then varsity is like,
because those games would just be packed. Bleachers, football games, just bleachers, and it's all people wearing the same color. You don't know.
But I know there are people on my team looking over and trying to see, like,
like my girl's here,
Right.
I'll go watch some of the younger football players that I work. Granted, they're in middle school, but I'll go to their like little Pop Warner games and I'll see them like looking the opposite direction, trying to find the people in the crowd that are there for them and stuff.
Middle of the game. Yeah. But also, there's often not a right or wrong way to go about your business, in my opinion. So if that's what motivates you to see people there supporting you, then acknowledge them and then go on about your business.
Dude,
but
the older
if it's
I
going to
get,
be a distraction, then you need to let it wait.
Like the older I get, the more I just have like my heart feels so much for just people that go to their like loved ones events, if you're just there, like it's such a beautiful thing to think that like
Yeah.
somebody's just there watching someone they care about like do whatever it is they go practice
Uh-huh.
after
And then
school.
getting like genuinely excited for them when they
Bruh,
do
it's
something
so
right.
beautiful
Yeah,
because like
yeah.
we make that matter and it's like core memories,
I
you
never
know?
really thought about it much until I became a parent, and my
Yeah.
daughter's not even old enough to play sports yet. But now when I go to other events, I'll like watch the other parents. I'm like, oh dang, that'll be fun to look
Yeah, for
forward
sure,
to,
it
right?
matters, man.
Yeah, it changes it a lot.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side, it's a little disheartening when you see people there supporting their kids or whoever, and they get like really upset over
Mm.
something. It's like, okay, like that's not what this is about.
Yeah,
Like, you know.
I've seen it for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So just keep things in perspective and practice awareness, and also recognize that we all got things we can work on. We
Mm.
sit here talk to you about these things. It's not because we've perfected them. It's because we're working on them
Real.
and we getting better
Mm.
every day, every single day. This was a good one.
Yeah.
This was a good
Flew
one.
by from my side.
If you got something out of today, let me hear a hell yeah. No, I'm kidding. Please like, share, subscribe. Share it with someone that you love. I always say that. We don't want you sharing with somebody you don't care about that much. That's not what this is about here. We want to build a little community and help people think outside the box and be more aware. Be more aware of yourself, your surroundings, the community, everything in between, because that is the most efficient path for growth. Finding a way to love the things that we have in this world and showing gratitude towards them, right?
Yeah, and gratitude. There it is.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, it's a beautiful October evening, and with that, I bid adieu. And to you, like last week, we'll see you next week.
Peace.
Peace.